We're in the middle of winter time, right? So have you ever gone to the Lowe's home improvement store to only find yourself in the plant section and then find a bunch of palm trees in the clearance rack? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to save those palm tree plants from the clearance rack and bring them in your home. And not only that, how to maintain them throughout the winter time so you can keep your palm trees alive. Let's go. What's going on, my plant people? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy. And welcome to my bedroom. Isn't it looking a little tropical up in here? That is because I have tons of palm trees. I happen to save 4 palm trees from the clearance rack in Lowe's home improvement stores. Now, Lowe's home improvement store seems to be the only one that has a clearance section for their plants. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments below if you have a store in your area that has a clearance rack for plants. Being that we're in the middle of winter time, if you were to go into your Lowe's home improvement store in the reduced clearance rack for your plants, chances are you'll find tons of plants in that clearance area. And one of those clearance plants that you'll find is the palm tree. First thing on the list is going to your Lowe's home improvement store and going straight to the plant section. Once you're in the plant section, then you're gonna go and find that clearance rack. During wintertime, there's a few plants that you'll always come across, and that is gonna be the poinsettias and the palm trees. Those babies are always in the clearance rack. So I just happened to pick up these 2 right here at the first time, and then the very next day, I went back to only find 2 more. It was awesome. And you know how much these plants were? Each palm tree plant on clearance was for $3 a piece. Now, if you were to buy this normal palm tree plant at a regular price, you're talking at least $16 for that one plant. Now, I'm no expert, but I knew that I had to try to keep these palm trees alive for like the past 2 winters. And that was very, very hard. So the first thing you're gonna do when you're bringing that palm tree home is inspect that plant. We need to be observant right now, and that is what is going to give us clues to figure out what was the problem in the first place. After you've taken a look at it, you're going to give it a haircut. You're going to trim off, you're going to cut off all the dead stems, dead leaves, crispy leaves, brown leaves, yellow leaves. All of it has to go. You don't want any of that dead matter or dying matter on the plant, because that is going to be sucking away nutrients from the main plant, and we don't want that, especially if it's growing. After you've inspected it and give that plant a haircut, you're going to go back to that plant and you're going to see, is there any new shoots on the plant? Is there any new leaves on the plant? So after I gave it a haircut, I went back and I really did notice that this is a large new leaf. And as well as I'm also getting a new leaf on this bottom one. Now, I mentioned that because every single palm tree plant that I got from Lowe's, the clearance rack, all of them went yellow, all of them were crispy, but they all had new leaves. That is a hopeful sign, because you know that there's going to be new growth going. So chances are that that yellowing and dead leaves is because it needs nutrients. Now, of course, Lowe's is not really going to worry about nutrient problems or, environmental comforts for your plant. So these plants are going to be dying off in Lowe's, and they're not going to be handling that. So they're going to put it into the clearance section. Normally, when your plants are going through a growth spurt, you're going to fertilize. But you're probably asking me, Jackie, it's the winter time. I'm not supposed to fertilize, right? You kind of have to know already your soil, your environment, how you interact with your plants. The bottom line is, if you give these plants all of the requirements that they're gonna need, then they will survive, they will thrive, and they will continue to give you new leaves despite the fact that we're in the middle of winter time. When you're looking at the plant, you're not just looking at the leaves and the stem. You're also going to be looking at the container that it's in. Is that container too small? Does it look like it needs to be upgraded in size? Is the soil way too dry? Is the soil way too soggy? After looking at the plant container, there's a 50-50 chance that you may want to repot it, maybe to a bigger size or maybe just to another container in general. So this is the time where you can fix up the soil the way you want it to. When these plants come at the store, in the home improvement stores, they come in peat moss. Now, it's okay, great as a seedling and as starting off, but when you're bringing that plant into your home environment, peat moss is just not gonna cut it after a while. Now, these palm trees are actually native to Madagascar, or basically a subtropical climate. They like it humid, they like it hot, and they like it damp. These palm tree plants do not like to dry out. When they do dry out, you'll see that they'll have like brown tips. Now, the gray tips on the leaves actually also means humidity problems. So these plants are really looking for a more humid environment. And that's what I found was the worst of the problem in the wintertime. The next thing is light. These palm trees like bright light. They can handle bright partial shade, that's not a problem, but they do like a lot of light. Now, when it comes to wintertime, just putting your window by the windowsill is not really gonna cut it sometimes. You'll notice that the plant will start going yellow, it'll start going brown. It's not the best. But also that, sometimes the windows can have drafts. Sometimes in the wintertime, if you leave this plant by a window that has a draft, you'll also get brown tips, crisping up, and it won't look so good. If you wanna keep these palm trees alive with no grow lights, you need a south-facing window. This will not work in the wintertime if you do not have adequate light. Now, if you don't have good natural lighting, never fear, it is okay. All you need is a simple grow light. You are going to need a grow light to make this happen throughout the wintertime. These plants like it warm, but they also like it really humid. Well, these plants like it warm, just like your standard normal temperature that you would like. These plants would like. Ideally, I'm sure they would like it a lot warmer, maybe around in the 80s or something, but they can tolerate 70s. That's not a problem. What I did find was a problem was actually the humidity. Now, when I said about the watering issues, when it comes to, inconsistent watering and dried out watering, you'll get these brown tips. It will happen also when it comes to humidity. So when you're trying to diagnose these brown tips, you're either gonna be looking at the soil with inconsistent watering or humidity problems. Ideally, these palm tree plants would love 60% humidity and higher, but unfortunately we cannot provide that really, at least not in the wintertime. Now, when you're rocking the 40%, 45% humidity, that's when you're gonna see these brown tips. And that is gonna be your big problem or your most major problem in the wintertime. So when you see these brown tips, you basically just want to take them off. I'm not saying tearing them like I'm doing. You can cut them with scissors. A few things when it comes to humidity. I find that misting don't do squat. Misting doesn't do squat for humidity, not at all. I mean, it does something for like the first, minute? The first minute that you mist. Other than that, it just evaporates and it just doesn't do anything for the plant. So I find misting to be kind of useless if you think about it. The second one is you can put a pebble tray underneath the plants, and that can offer some humidity, but I also found that that sucks too. That does not provide any humidity, at least for me. I didn't see that as being useful at all. That pebble tray was about as useful as the misting, which didn't do squat. Your other option is, which of course you can see in the background, is I huddle all my plants together. Now, I found that one to be a more viable option. Now, when these plants are transpiring, all that extra moisture is staying within the plants. So they're kind of like providing their own humidity. I found that to be more useful than those other two. Clumping your plants together. Now, this is why I clumped all of my plants plus the palm trees all together in one little area. Not only do I feel like I'm in a jungle, but they also work out with the humidity levels. You can also do a humidifier as well. That is not a problem. That actually works out pretty good. The only downside to these things is that the humidifier actually collects or gets moldy if you don't clean inside of that humidifier after every 2 uses. I'm not down with that. Not only am I gonna forget, I'm gonna forget. And that's a lot of work. Now, if you have one humidifier, it won't be so bad. But if, let's say you have 4 or 5 like I do, then that's way too many. That's way too much cleaning. And that's not a lot of work. But yes, some plants, you do have to do it. That is true. Luckily, I have a huge indoor greenhouse. If you haven't checked that out, I'm gonna drop it right up here and down below. I built that greenhouse last year and it can house all of these plants inside of it. So if I find that these plants are struggling inside of my bedroom, then those are where it's gonna go, inside of the greenhouse, because that is where I know I can control the humidity, the light, the moisture, everything. That's another thing. If you see your plants developing leaves after you transfer it and all that, please fertilize. Your plants are asking for fertilization. It doesn't matter if you're in wintertime. Remember, if you have the grow lights, you're giving it good conditions, it's going to be asking for fertilizer. So don't forget about that. Now it's a waiting game. It's patience. Now we wait. As I'm always saying, we can't rush the plant process, and plants are teaching us patience. That's exactly what's going on. Now you have to wait a while and observe your plants over the course of a few weeks to see how it's adapting to your environment. Do you have enough light? Do you have enough humidity? Did it take well to the fertilizer? So on and so forth. So we're going to be observing. We're going to be mindful. We're going to be aware of our plants and look at it over a course of time. 3 of them are thriving. They just bounce back with no problem. I mean, wow, these plants are beautiful. They really worked out. The only one plant problem I had was this one. Now, I would say it was me problem, but I mean, my other plants did just fine. I'm assuming that this plant took a harder hit when it was at the store. But there's hope. There's hope because I got 2 new plant leaves. So it's still a win-win situation. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys go to your Lowe's clearance section. And if you do, how many times are you always at that clearance rack? How many? Because I know I'm there all the time. And I really do hope that you go straight to Lowe's, you go into that clearance section, and you rack up on all them plants because you already know, especially the palm trees plants, because you kind of have an idea on how to save them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy this video and you want to show me some love, then don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't already, then consider subscribing. I drop a video every week and then some in between. And last but not least, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there all the time. I drop some memes, DIY projects, and a little bit on the personal side. So until the next episode, you guys, grow your happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. Until then, I'll check you on the next episode. Peace and love.